The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host, Cheryl Hentz, and I'm very pleased to be joined tonight by my friend Tom Willadsen, who is here about a special project, and Christine Melms-Simon, who is a special projects coordinator at the Paine Arts Center and Gardens. And Tom is acting in this capacity as an Interfaith Coordinator. So we're going to be talking tonight about a very exciting exhibit at the Paine. It's called it's a Tibetan exhibit, and I'm not exactly sure because I've seen different things here, so you're going to tell us what the exact name of this exhibit is. But welcome. Thanks to both of you for being here.
It's good to be here, Cheryl.
I do have to ask before we even get started, what is with the puzzle piece pin?
You know, it means two things.
Okay.
I learned last week or last month autism. People who are trying to understand and raise awareness of autism wear puzzle pieces. Also, it's intentionally white because I think when we're talking about racism in the United States, white people need to be a piece in the solution.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's my silent way of saying this is important to me, and
yes,
I think important to our society.
Well, and I like that it's a corner piece, too. So.
Those are always where you start, isn't it?
That's where you start with any puzzle,
yes,
right? But in this case, it could be like the cornerstone for building bridges to finding solutions to the problem. Mm-hmm. So very good. Well, thank you. I was looking at that before, and I thought, I got to ask him. So anyway, thanks to both of you for being here. So what exactly is the name of the exhibit? I've seen it called different things. So what's the exact name?
Present right now, and in the main gallery, is the Tibetan portrait, The Power of Compassion. And these are photographs of the portrait of the people of Tibet.
Okay.
These photographs were taken by Phil Borges, an American photographer who's visited Tibet on 2 different occasions in his career. And he specializes in bringing forth the story of peoples around the world who are challenged, whose cultures are diminishing, and the portraits are absolutely beautiful. They're silent, and yet they just speak volumes about the people and the land and the culture. They're truly moving and beautiful. And in conjunction with this, for 1 week in March, from Sunday to Sunday, the 17th to the 24th, we will have 10 Tibetan monks from the Drepung Losling Monastery in Dharamsala, India, coming to the Paine. And the entire conservatory will be handed over to them. They will bless it as a sacred space, and they will engage for the entire week in creating a massive sand painting, a mandala. And we're all excited about their visit.
Absolutely. And we have some pictures of that we're going to show a little bit later. So how is it that this came to be at the Paine? I think you were saying earlier it had been here once before. Not this exact one, but something along this order had been there once before.
This is... art is a universal language, and it speaks through the ages as well. And in looking for what the Paine can bring to the community and beyond, this is something different and something that actually speaks to a need right now. A need for compassion, a need for peace, a need for beauty, a need for connection, diversity, and touching our humanity. And the monks excel in this. This is an art that people and visitors can engage in. They can watch as this is being created. And they can take this out with them because this is experiential on so many different levels. It's exciting. And the Paine is also planning on providing space in our studio at the mansion that one can not only design their own prayer flags and other art pieces that are based on the art of the culture of Tibet. It's something that we want to engage everything and everybody for a whole week long.
Sure. Now, I was reading in a newspaper article and then just looking at your website and so forth. Phil, did you say it's
Borges?
Borges.
Like
okay.
gorgeous. It rhymes, but with a B, right?
So Phil Borges, according to what I'd read, he had lived with both indigenous. Thank you. I knew it, and for some reason I just wanted to put the emphasis somewhere else. Indigenous and tribal cultures around the world for like 25 years, 2.5 decades.
Yeah.
And in 1994, he went to Tibet, northern India, and Nepal to interview and photograph Tibetans and the Tibetan refugees so that he could learn kind of their stories of what happened to them, and their culture after China's takeover of the Buddhist nation in 1950. So he took pictures, and that's what's in his book that will be on display. And there was one, we can't zoom in enough to get this really clear, but there was one photo that had been printed in the newspaper that, as you said, it speaks volumes.
It does.
All of the photographs are as moving as that one.
Yes.
And there's something just stark about them and something so human and basic. Just seeing the photographs, it's a very moving experience.
Sure.
But to understand that these are people who are either living in an occupied nation, if they're in Tibet, or they're living in exile someplace else, makes it even more striking, I think.
Sure. Now, how did you come to get involved with this, Tom?
Well, this is something that involves a number of different faiths, communities, and I've been working for years in building, bridges in interfaith things in Oshkosh. So I think the Paine saw this as kind of a unique opportunity to reach out to people of all faiths, and as Christine was talking about the mandala that they will make. You can think of it as a work of art, or you can think of it as a work of prayer, or even a work of meditation. And I hope that we'll be able to talk a little bit about all of that goes into that. But it's something that I think everyone who goes and observes the monks at work or comes to understand kind of their journey through life will really be moved, and also kind of get something that they can take about their own faith away from encountering this very different but also profoundly human tradition.
Sure. Well, before we get too far into it, when does the exhibit start and how long does it run?
Sunday, March 17th through Sunday, March 24th.
Okay.
And the Paine is coordinating with the Grand as well, and the Grand will have a performance on Saturday evening, the 23rd.
All right. And what is the cost of the exhibit?
Sunday through Sunday, it is $10 for adults,
Okay.
$5 for children, and that's from ages 4 to 17. And then members of the Paine are free for all of the offerings. And Monday, the 18th of March, is a free day for the community. And this is through the courtesy of our lead sponsor, Community First Credit Union.
Wow. Well, hats off to them for doing that, because I suspect on the 18th you guys are going to be very busy.
Yes, we're planning on it.
Well, that's great. So tell us a little bit more about some of the photographs, if you can. Are they mostly of people?
Yeah, each
Yes.
of them they're really portraits.
They
and,
are.
And what I found is they're portraits not only of the individual, but also kind of the landscape.
Yes,
And so you
exactly.
really understand, they're, bleak isn't quite the word, but they're just spare. And you really see kind of the essential humanity of the people whose portraits have been taken. And they're people of all ages. There are some children,
Yes.
there are some adults, some older people.
Some families.
Well, we have some photos, and then we have a short 3-minute video about it. So why don't we take a look at the photos now? Help us understand. Explain to us what we're seeing right here.
This is a mandala that will be different from the one that will be constructed at the Paine. This one's theme is health and wholeness.
Okay.
And from here, they always look like extraordinarily elaborate birthday cakes to me with
Yes, they
icing.
do.
All of those colors are done are composed of grains of sand, and each grain of sand is, and you'll see this in the video in a moment. Each grain of sand is kind of placed from a funnel by the monk as he kind of taps the funnel to get the sand to descend to where he wants it to go. And each grain of sand is considered a prayer or a blessing. So this is a profoundly spiritual endeavor, an individual one, but I think one that people who are observing this will also find that they're praying or sharing blessings along with the monks.
Okay.
And to put this
Can we
into
go back
perspective,
to that other picture that we were first looking at? There we go.
a finished mandala
Yeah.
that takes at least a week to create
Wow.
is about 4 foot by 4 foot.
Okay.
That's what the finished product will measure as.
You know, when you look at that, and Tom, you were talking about how each of those is their grains of sand and they're tapping them. You know, that is just, it's dumbfounding to me.
Yeah.
That you can get that kind of a beautiful piece of art with that kind of, I mean, it's so intricate,
Yeah.
you know, just by tapping on something that has sand.
And there are actually many dozens of designs within the Buddhist art tradition.
Wow. Okay, so now let's look at this one. Now, what is happening here? And if we can just leave it up until we're finished talking about this one, that would be great.
This is the conclusion
Okay.
of the project, of the building of the mandala. And at the very end, the monks sweep together all the sand and destroy their work.
Okay,
This
so
is representing the impermanence of everything about life and nature. Then
that's thought-provoking.
it is. And then
Yeah.
what will happen, they will distribute about half the mandala in small packets of sand to anyone who is accompanying the ceremony at the end.
Okay.
And anybody can take their prayerful sand to their home, to their office, school, wherever. That can travel the world with them. And the monks will take the other half and they will gather it into a container, and they are planning to go to the nearest body of water, which would be our Fox River, about a block away from the Paine, and to deposit it in the running waters of the Fox River.
Wow. Amazing.
This, in concept, the rivers evaporate, the sand that has been blessed with the prayers evaporates and rains down upon the earth, and all of the waterways connect eventually somehow to the ocean, and again spread through the earth. And this is the concept behind the whole ceremony behind the mandala.
Okay. Let's take a look at the next picture. Here they are putting it into a river.
Yeah, it's important that the body of water they put it in is running water. They wouldn't put it into a lake or a pool or a pond because, as Christine said, this is really about kind of the connection, and that the prayers and blessings that the monks have raised here will join water around the earth,
Sure.
and blend with all other water.
Sure.
So,
Well, if this
that's
is
not in Oshkosh officially, though. That's them setting a mandala free someplace else.
Sure. Well, I guess it's nice that it's going to be done in the river as opposed to the lake, because in March that lake still might be somewhat frozen over, whereas rivers do tend to stay.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Being Wisconsin especially, we don't know what to expect. And
That's true.
Come the last day of the ceremony, it's uncertain whether it will be deposited in the Fox River or not at this point in time. We'll play that as it
Yeah.
comes.
Well, the nice thing is rivers always seem to have a current, and so
Yes.
there may still be a thin area of ice on it, but hopefully they can do this. So let's move on to the next photo then. This is, I'm assuming, this looks different from the other one. What are we seeing here?
I don't know what the theme of this one is. Do you, Christine?
I don't.
Okay.
There are too many designs.
There really are. But one of the things that is really interesting is they begin, before they start placing sand, the first thing they do when they get to work on this on Sunday the 17th of March, they will be setting out the lines, the designs, with chalk and the sorts of things that we stopped doing when we stopped using geometry. They will kind of, it's kind of like drawing the lines in the coloring book.
Yeah.
And that's what they start with. And then, for obvious reasons, they start at the beginning or at the center and have to work out because, as Christine said, they can be 4 feet by 4 feet.
Sure.
And so, if they didn't start in the center and work out, it would be difficult to work around what they'd already done.
So how many hours a day do they work on something like this? Do either of you know?
I tried to do the math on this, and what I found is that if they work on it, if 2 or 3 work on it continually during the week, it looks like there'll be about 250 man-hours
Wow.
of building this.
At least, yeah.
That's just amazing to me. I'm not sure do we have another photo? If we do, sure, there we go.
You get a sense of, it's hard to see in this picture, but that's a funnel in the man's, that's kind of holding up toward his chin, and he's got just a small stick that he's tapping, so that the individual grains of sand will go into place. It takes an amazing amount of concentration.
Wow. Okay, and next? Okay, so what do we have here? That's not a mandala.
The evening presentation at the Grand will be about 2 hours of sacred music and dance.
Okay.
And the monks come with these gorgeous, intricate costuming. And then they also have horns, some of which are 12 feet long.
Wow.
And there are also monks who chant and sing. And these particular monks have a method of singing that they can actually create 3 different tones within their own voice box.
Wow.
And a whole chord comes out.
Holy cow.
They're the only known people in the world to be able to do this.
That would be worth it in and of itself.
Yeah.
To
But
pay the $10
this
for.
is some of the costuming that the sacred dance uses.
Okay, marvelous. I'm not sure if we have any more photos. We're done with the
There we
photos.
are.
So tell us what we're going to be seeing in this 3-minute video. What is it all about?
Yeah, it's really kind of an explanation of, or I should say it's one authority's explanation on what a mandala does and is and what it symbolizes. What I found is there's a wide variety of different understandings and interpretations of very similar art. Shortly after I understood that part of the importance of the mandala is that it's temporary, that it's ephemeral, it doesn't last forever. The very next source I read said it has nothing to do with impermanence.
Yeah.
And so I think if you ask 7 different people, you'll get 7 different interpretations.
Okay. All right.
But what they have in common is this sense of the great concentration and attention.
Sure.
And prayerfulness.
Sure. Well, why don't we take a look at the video, and then we can maybe talk a little bit about that. So
Sure.
we will. We don't have popcorn, but we'll look at the video.
Tibetan medicine and healing has always been crucial to the Buddhist path. So creating a medicine mandala is one way of healing the community, but also healing the environment. The word mandala is actually a Sanskrit term, meaning container of essence. It is that sacred circle embodying some sacred essence within. Originally, they would have used powdered stones, powdered gems, things like lapis, malachite, and so on. Today, they use crushed marble made into sand. Now, the colours are very important because they symbolise different attributes of the deities. But in this particular one that we have here, it is all about the medicine Buddha and healing. And what they create is a heavenly palace all around him. Most of the monks have been in monasteries since the age of about 7. They would have learnt the actual art of painting a mandala in the first instance, but to actually make sand mandala takes about 5 years to train, because it's a very precise art, tapping the sand out of these copper funnels into these intricate geometric designs. The prayers that the monks perform are to do with invoking the presence of the medicine Buddha and inviting the healing power to enter the center of the mandala. And then throughout, when they're actually performing, creating the mandala, they are meditating on that same thought. And for those people who are watching, every grain of sand will give one a blessing. This form of Buddhism is about developing your mind's potential, or a way of transforming the mind. So the person who is using this in meditation would imagine themselves as the medicine Buddha in the center, and they would try and break down the barriers of their normal deluded life into the pure enlightened mind of the Buddha. A very important Buddhist belief is the impermanence. They don't believe that death is the end. It's just a passing phase. It's our essence that carries on, but also that you shouldn't be attached to anything. So the idea of the destruction of the sand mandala is really putting it to bed, if you like. We return to the elements, so too is the sand mandala returned to the elements.
It's beautiful, even as they're brushing all the
It is.
all the sands, the different colors together. That, I don't know, I'm blown away by that video. I really am. I mean, it was something to look at them just in the still photos, but then when you see them actually doing it, as you so beautifully described how they do it, and just, you know, the lightly tapping on the thing where the sand is coming out. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't do that in a million years. Not ever, ever, ever. I don't care how much I meditated or prayed on it. But then to destroy it, you know, put all that time into it and brush everything together and basically destroy it, that, I don't know. I get the concept, but it seems like, why'd we put so much time into this?
But it's really about setting this free.
Yeah,
You know, that art really is impermanent. And this really is intended to surround the world. So it is an adjustment. One of the things I noticed on that video, though, is you really saw the texture of the of the art. It isn't flat. I mean, there are mounds and hills, and at such precision and concentration. It really is breathtaking.
I don't know how they do it. I guess they're probably meditating as they're doing it.
Yes.
And maybe that helps with the precision. I don't know. It would make me way too nervous. I would not be able to do that.
We hope you'll come and watch
Yes,
anyway,
truly.
even if you can't do it. I think there's some to be gained just by watching that kind of concentration and kind of focus. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is the video part of the exhibit also? Will people be able to see the video that we just saw at the
Not
exhibit?
that video. There
Okay.
will be other videos. There will be speakers and lectures going on continually. A lot of different ways that people can engage the culture of Tibet and Buddhism. It's a learning experience, and if you are so moved to take in any or all of it, there's a lot to be had.
Sure. So again, it runs from March 17th through March 24th. There'll be a special event at the Grand, I'm assuming that evening of the 23rd?
Yes.
Okay.
7:30.
7:30, okay. And do you know what that cost is, by chance?
I do not. One would have to contact the Grand.
Okay, all right, or go to their website. And then it's on the 24th. Is it on the 24th that the monks will be here doing their work? Or they'll be there the whole week?
They
Yeah.
will be there the
On
whole week.
On the 24th, the final thing they do is they'll take the sand from the mandala and set it free in the Fox River,
Okay,
or take it with them to the next stop where there'll be some running water.
the next, okay.
We'll have
all
to
right.
see.
Okay, very good. Anything that we haven't talked about this?
There's something that is kind of interesting to me. At 1:30 in the afternoon on Sunday, at the beginning of the public presentation, we're going to have a welcome from interfaith people, and it was striking to me that 13 different faith communities, religious communities in the Oshkosh area have been invited to take part, and it just is amazing to me that there are that many distinct religions here. Not all of them will be taking part. It's a 30-minute welcome. At this point, you were asking me this morning, Christine, which ones have said they're going to be here, who are definitely committed. And I have to say it's the big three. We've got Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are going to be having representatives welcoming the monks to our community. There will probably be one or two others. We'll see.
Okay.
But I think it's important that our community recognizes the rich variety of traditions we have in our community and how we can all get together and welcoming guests to our community.
Sure, absolutely. And, that's true in any day, any walk of life with any people. And this is just one way of sort of exploring and showing that possibility, of what can be, what should be.
Right.
So, and then the cost is $10 for adults, $5 for children, and
Except on Monday.
yes, I was just
Morning.
getting to that,
Okay.
on Monday the 18th, courtesy of Fox Communities Credit
Oh.
Union?
No.
No? Tell me again.
We have to. It's
Community
Community
First
First Credit
Credit
Union.
Community First
Community
Credit-
First Credit Union
Okay.
is the lead sponsor.
All right, Community First Credit Union is the lead sponsor, and because of their generosity, Monday, the March 18th, will be the free day. So, okay, very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for bringing this to our
Thanks
attention.
for having us.
It's been a real eye opener for me, and I hope folks will have a chance to get out and see it. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will be continuing with the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. We'll be chatting with some local teens involved in some very special projects related to justice. So we'll be right back.
It's not a charity, it's more than a charity. It's about helping people we live with. It's about being the type of person that the 6-year-old version of ourselves wanted us to be. It's about community and looking out for one another. It's about money, yes, but it's so much more than money. It's about friendship and common values. It's about opening doors when others are slammed shut. It's about giving kids a place to be kids and growing up knowing they live in a community that cares about them. It's about making sure that everyone gets to see the dentist, because we want to make sure that they have every last tooth in those smiles. Ultimately, that's it. It's about the smiles, old smiles and new smiles. It's about us, all of us, our community living united, because great things happen when we live united. Will you join us?
Oh no, did I miss the exit?
Hey pal, you look a little lost.
What?
You know your smartphone has GPS, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm driving right now.
Let's text your sister to see if she's texting. Okay, look, I'll help. I've got a map. Okay.
I am done with this distraction.
Not my hairdryer. Hey, no! Ah, that's distracting. Okay, I'll go.
Focus on driving, not the distractor.
Find me a new driver.
Get lost.
Yes, you can. Now we're on, and you can hear me as well. So very good. So welcome to the second half of Ion Oshkosh, and we are joined now by some local teens. They're with a group entitled Y2Y Advocates for Justice. To my right is Bailey Tolksdorf. She is the youth mentor and prevention specialist with Fit Oshkosh. To my left is Oshkosh West High senior Caprice Swanks, and Oshkosh West sophomore Emanuela Iwuji. Did I get it right? Yep. All right, I got all names correct. I get an A. Very good. Thank you so much. All right, so let's. This was brought to me through Tracy Robertson, who's a friend of mine and is the executive director of Fit Oshkosh. So she said, you got to have these kids on. Got to have them on. So I'm like, okay, well, who are they? What are they? So tell me about the mission of Y2Y Advocates for Justice, and I guess we'll start with you.
Sure. So Y2Y Advocates for Justice is essentially a club that we created at Oshkosh West. I should say, Tracy and Marika Van Roen, and we really are striving to teach about healthy relationships, teach about violence, and how to prevent violence in all lives. So one of our projects right now that we're working on is going into the middle schools, and we have a healthy relationship curriculum that essentially is teaching not only about healthy relationships regarding dating, but also with friendships, teachers, peers, and just adults in your life, as well as family.
Sure. So it really doesn't have much to do with bullying, I guess, from that standpoint, although that could kind of roll over into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because, I mean, that's a huge thing for kids today.
Definitely.
And bullying, and that often leads to suicide. And so it's all sort of rolled into one from where I'm looking at things. So I like the part of your mission statement. It says, we strive to educate ourselves and others about the importance of fostering healthy relationships at home, in school, and in our community. And this is the part that I really like. We are not your leaders of the future. We are leaders now. And now is all capitalized. And I think that's a really neat way to sum up your mission. And I don't know, how long has the group been doing this?
For 1 year.
Yeah, a year now.
Oh, it's a year older.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're just coming up on a year.
Okay. And so how many people are, yours is just at Oshkosh West. Do you go to North at all? Is there any group at North?
No.
Nope, right now we're just focused in Oshkosh West.
Okay.
But we're made up of 15 youth right now.
All from Oshkosh West?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And how large can it grow? I mean, what's your capacity for growth?
I guess we haven't really thought about it. Right now, I guess technically we have like one open position if needed, so we could probably grow to 15. we are a nonprofit, so we're always looking for funds, and obviously that impacts it as well. So
Sure.
I think we're sitting pretty tight right now, but.
So looking for funds. So what do you do with the funds that you get? What's the money used for?
Well, we are actually headed to a statewide teen summit on Sunday. It's a 3-day, basically just workshops, teaching our youth and youth across Wisconsin more about healthy relationships, about social justice, racial injustice, just a lot of really deep topics that we dive into, we discuss. We have some youth from our group who are leading focus groups and workshops at the summit. So that money would be used for things such as that. We go on a few excursions throughout our time together where just like food, hotel, and the cost that it really takes to be there and to soak in all the education.
So, okay, let's talk about your going into a middle school, for example. It can be any middle school in the district, I'm assuming?
Yep, right now we are centered at Merrill Middle.
Okay, all right. Merrill probably needs it. I think all the middle school students could learn and benefit from what you guys are doing. But Merrill has historically, I think, had a few more problems than some of the other middle schools in town. So why don't you guys talk to me a little bit about what you do when you go into Merrill? Are you working with certain specific students? Are you just working with any student who has an interest in working with you? Tell me about how this works.
So it's the after-school program at Merrill, and it's usually the students that already like have their permission slips signed. I'm not sure which group it is because some of them go somewhere else.
Okay.
But usually what we do is we teach the curriculum, and sometimes we also do we put a lot of fun activities in there, and we have like our agreement for all of them, so they all came up with things that to agree on, that they should all sound like a contract type thing.
Okay, good.
And we go over that often just to have them refresh and this is what we're here for, all of that stuff. And yeah, I really enjoy it because they all have I feel like middle school is when you're trying to find yourself, and so this has really brought a lot of middle schoolers more open to discuss, and you could really see them slowly becoming leaders.
Yeah.
And what we teach is not only about healthy relationships, but leadership skills, and with the leadership skills, letting them know that we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and that's okay. But when we work in a group, all of those strengths together makes everything go better. And we all individually have those strengths, and we can help each other out with each other's weaknesses.
Okay.
So that's another thing that we like to bring up for them.
Emanuela, what kinds of things do you see the kids most wanting to work on, learn about, or the things that they're putting in their contract, if you will? What's the main theme or themes?
Well, a lot of kids that come in with us, they really want to be in an environment where they're respected and cared for, and in a place they feel comfortable and accepted. And that's a big thing that we try to do with that environment. So they can talk to us, they can share to us what is going on in their life. Like you said about bullying, if there's something that's going on with them and they're afraid to share that with somebody, and that is a place that could come in and be relaxed and be respected about their opinions and open up to us and trust us to help them, and not to share their information publicly or in any way like that.
Sure.
So it's a safe zone for those kids.
Sure. And then, so how long do you work with kids? I mean, is there any specific length of time that you work with them, or is it just they come talk with you when they want to, and if they don't want to, they don't? I mean, how does that work?
Oh, we go there every other Thursday, and it's about an hour that we do our activity and curriculum with them. So yeah, that's usually the length of time. Yeah.
Okay. And then they take this knowledge that they're gaining from working with you guys, and they take it out into the rest of the school and try and put it into practical use. I mean, is that kind of how this is supposed to work?
Yeah, that's what we hope for.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just about the rest of the school, it's about their life itself and about like making Oshkosh a better place and the world itself. We want to make like people to relate it to each other in a more intimate way, and like in a cell phone technology kind of society, we want people to like be able to look at each other and like relate and realize that the person sitting next to you is human. So if they could like apply that to outside of school and like to their lives, that would be like great. That's like our mission.
Sure. I would have to think that that's one of your biggest challenges, is getting these kids to put down phones. Because I don't, and you know, it's a problem with adults too. I don't care.
Yeah,
we can be out sitting at dinner and look at a table across the way, and there can be a family of 4 or 5, and you've got the parents each on their phones, and you got the kids on their phones. Nobody's talking. They're just all wrapped up in what's on their phone. And I think that really we as a society are losing a lot of, you know, our social graces, are being able to look at people and talk to them and have an actual conversation without emojis and without having something in our hands to do it, you know. So do you find that to be really tough, getting these kids to put down the phones and learn how to converse with each other face to face?
They actually don't have their phones out. They're
Oh, because they're in school, right?
Yeah,
Right.
so-
The after-school program doesn't allow them to have their phones,
Okay.
which is
helpful.
really great. Yeah, and helps our
You've got a
cause.
captive audience.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
Captive
do.
audience.
We're the most entertaining things there. So.
But do they talk to you at all about that being a big struggle?
About cell phones? Being,
Yeah. I mean, how do you convince them, in other words, to, when they get home from school,
Right.
or walking home from school? Because you wouldn't believe the number. I live close to West, and you wouldn't believe, well, maybe you would, the number of kids that I see walking home from school, and their heads are down, and they're on their phones. I don't know how they can see where they're walking. I don't know how more kids aren't getting hit. But, you know, do they talk to you about how challenging that is when they get home and everybody's on their phones, including their parents in many cases?
Personally, I feel like I've heard about these struggles more so at the high school level, whereas I think with our group, with everything we're focusing on, the youth really open up about, I mean, a lot of us have had youth open up to us about their struggles with relationships, or just struggles that they're going through in school. Maybe I'm not doing so well in my math class, which I think is great because it shows they're comfortable and they're able to open up to us all, and they feel safe and respected, which is really what we're aiming for. So I personally, while we're there, haven't really come across that. Have you all?
I haven't either.
No. Which I think is good that maybe we're not focusing on that, on that part of society, and we're really getting down deep to the core and talking about things that matter to them, and maybe things that we can help them with or open their eyes to.
Well, I think it's a great idea, really, because, you know, the bullying, like we've said, is so huge. And, you know, I was in kind of preparation for this. I was sort of, you know, thinking about the bullying aspect of things. And now I'm significantly older than you young ladies are, but when I was in school, of course, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't even have computers when I was in school. So that should tell you how far back I go. So there weren't those kinds of distractions. And there wasn't the kind of bullying that I see today, mainly because we didn't have phones.
Right.
You know, but there was still a limited amount of bullying. You know, about I can name a couple of kids who were bullied, but it wasn't to the extent that bullying takes place today. Because once you got off the school grounds and got home, it was away from you.
Yep.
It wasn't in your face constantly like it is with social media and so forth today. Other than the bullying, I mean, are kids talking to you about problems they're maybe having with relationships with their friends, relationships that they're having problems with their folks maybe? What's the main kind of themes that you're seeing kids having issues with?
There you go.
For me, what kind of stands out is not that they really share issues that like happen. It's more so they kind of like, I don't think they knows what they're saying, but like, oh, like I have a bat under my bed, so I feel safe. Like those type of things, like those small, little like remarks that like, you kind of like, you don't notice it right away, but then you're like, oh, like, and just I think that part is like, you know, they feel unsafe sometimes, and you're not really sure like why that is sometimes. So that's like little remarks that I've heard from like the students that we teach.
Sure. How about you?
I have like had a couple kids like, you know, say they have a hard time with some of their friends, and like, you know, it's middle school and like everybody's trying to find themselves. Even in high school, it's like a tough deal, basically. So like knowing how to react to like those things is like really a big deal, and like that's some things that some of them do struggle with, and like I think us coming to Merrill has been really a big help to those kids, because we're really trying to like, you know, teach them to like, you know, how to deal with this relationship with their friends, and like not fight with their friends, or like talk to them like in a way that relates to them and gets them to stop what they're doing.
Sure.
In a way.
Sure. Yeah. You guys are involved in a lot of different things, not just going to the school. You guys, I want to talk a little bit about each one of these. You're in partnership with Christine Ann, where you're developing and providing youth leadership sessions for local summer camp this past July, but also coming up in summer of 2019. Tell us a little bit about that aspect of your work.
I can go. Yeah, so
You're the leader.
yes, this is that was kind of my when I started in summer, we jumped right into the camp. So that was kind of my introduction to the Y2Y youth, really getting an eye for what these youth were capable of, which was really cool. But for both camps through the Christine Ann, we created, it was mostly the youth. It was youth-led. They created this curriculum that essentially went through to find what your strengths are as a leader, and to find your weaknesses as well, because we really highlighted that it's important to know your strengths as well as your weaknesses.
Sure.
So we created like a 45-minute to an hour-long curriculum based on how much time we had. We made it work. We were flexible. And we were with teens, middle school age, and just teaching the importance of leadership skills, what it means to be a leader. We talked about our favorite leaders, people that we look up to, people that maybe are celebrities or people that are in our lives, and then looking internally for that, and looking at the qualities in your friends as well, what qualities they carry and what qualities are most important to you.
Sure.
But it was a lot of fun, and the youth did a really great job facilitating. I was really proud of them.
Okay, wonderful. Now, this past August, you guys did something called the Discovery Dating Facilitator Training, and that's where you trained with staff at the Wise Woman Gathering Place in Green Bay.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did that go?
So the Discovery Dating training is the curriculum that we teach with the middle schoolers, and so Wise Women, they created this curriculum, and so the training was basically how to be a good facilitator and knowing like what is good and not really good. For example, when like you're talking, or like when students are sharing, instead of saying good job, which you oftentimes when you keep saying good job, you probably will forget someone, just kind of like nodding your head just to make a little more equal, that like you are hearing everyone. And just like those small little things, like I feel like really make a difference, because when you use that towards students, they're like, wow, like they're listening to me, you know. And especially like now a lot of people want to listen to youth because, you know, we are youth, but I feel like when we have facts, that's when people are like, wow. Like, so that's what we're trying to do, is just educate ourselves and educate other youth so that they have that information that they can use to like stand up for themselves and like the people around them.
Sure. Well, you know, you make an interesting point about people not wanting to necessarily listen to youth. And I think that youth have most youth, not all, but most, I think, have very, very good things to say. And I think that no matter how old we are, there's always something that we can learn from youth. And that point, I think, as far as how eloquent youth can speak on certain issues, I think that point was driven home so much in the last maybe year or two, as we've seen some of these kids testifying on Capitol Hill about school shootings. You know, you can hear the intelligence, you can hear the compassion, you can feel the sadness in their voices and their plea for the government to do something. And, you know, there's something where lawmakers can learn from youth. And the rest of the people who were testifying also, but nobody was putting words in those kids' mouths. That was heartfelt, gut-wrenching testimony that they gave themselves. And they were beautiful speakers, you know, on a subject that's pretty sad.
Absolutely.
But they were beautiful speakers. So I think that youth need to be listened to, as long as they're presenting it in a manner in which you guys are talking to me and to the audience right now. So I think we have a lot to learn from youth, and youth from us. You know, it's a share and share kind of thing. Now, FIT Oshkosh is offering an additional 4-hour bystander, upstander awareness and intervention training. It says during the fall, and I don't know if that was last fall or if that's coming up this fall. It's the fall or winter semester. So did that happen already?
Yep.
That did.
It
Okay.
did just happen, yes.
Okay, so it just kind of concluded. So what did you learn from that?
So I went, and I really loved it. It was something I really wanted to bring to my school. So the bystander to upstander was basically being an upstander is being that person who intervenes in a more safer way, like don't put yourself in danger, but if you see something wrong, do something about it. Don't just watch it. And it was showing, so we were basically like learning about that, and I feel like that also goes with like being an ally with things. Like you can be an ally, but actually doing something and actually learning about what you're standing up for makes a big difference, because you can be someone who just, you know, sits there and watch it happen, or you can be someone that actually tries to make the difference and like go out there and like help those people. And so that's really what the bystander to upstander training, to me, what I took was basically about.
Okay, so basically you can either be a bystander and, you know, shoot video of something that's going on, or you can actually, you know, be an upstander and get involved and do something about it, but in a safe way, from a safe distance or position.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the important key. I mean, we don't want people rushing in to try and break up a fight or anything like that, but do something to stop it in a more positive way.
Absolutely.
And safe. So, okay. Let's see. This is something that I thought was very interesting. FIT Oshkosh is, I don't know if they've already done this or if they are, but they're contracting with a local educator to work with teens to critically examine video gaming from a violence prevention and equity lens. I don't know what that equity lens part means, but violence prevention, I have to say, and this is, I struggle with this issue all the time of video gaming, because and even some of the books or movies that are out there, you know, I've worked in media all my professional life. supposed to be about First Amendment rights and free speech and this kind of thing. And yet, so I'm not in favor of censorship, and yet some of these video games, they are so violent and they are created in such a real, I mean, they look real. They look real. And I think it deadens the player's senses to hurting human beings. And so is this kind of focusing on that?
During our training, we really focused on the different people who play video games and how there are stereotypes to video games, just as there are to many other things in this world. So we talked a lot about like sexism in video games, which is a big takeaway for me. I'm not really big into gaming, but I know there is a huge population of video gamers out there.
Sure.
And just seeing how women are portrayed, we also got a really great experience to kind of see how it seems at least in some games that the perception of women is bettering instead of that, like, you'll never see a woman really on like the front of a video game cover, or she's wearing barely anything and she's sexualized. And just the more recent video game covers, we were seeing more of like a stronger woman who were dressed as men were, but just like didn't portray that such a sexualized like vision, which was great. We also talked about how like a stereotypical gamer people usually view as a white male, and that's not the case. And we also talked about how it can be harmful for that stereotype to take place. A lot of people will get grief, like, oh, you're a woman and you game, or oh, you are a man of color and you game, like you don't fit that stereotypical gamer, and like you should be shunned for that. So we talked about how that can harm people who might be really into gaming. Is there anything else you guys want to add about the training?
Something that I noticed that was like, oh, like I never thought about that when we were like saying like gamer, like someone's like, a girl said, oh, I'm like, you know, a gamer, and they're like, but they said gamer girl, and like it was kind of like that, like the fact that you have to add that you're a girl, but like when a boy says you're just a gamer, I thought that was like interesting. I was like, oh, like
that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, like
you don't call him gamer boy,
right? Yeah, you know, so I just was like, oh, like I didn't notice that until now. So
yeah.
But everything Bailey said was basically spot on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what I noticed too.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah. Now, this summer, I'm assuming it's this coming summer. It doesn't have a date. It just says 2019. The End Abuse Teen Summit is something that you guys are participating in.
Yes.
When will that be held? When are you doing that?
We're actually leaving this Sunday.
This Sunday. That's the thing, this Sunday.
Yes.
Okay, so by the time this airs, they will have done it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have them on another time to find out what they learned. And now, have you already prepared a display board and infographic that describes your work and shows kind of what you do?
Yes. Yeah, we did that this summer. It was a fun project that we took on. Sure. Not all the youth could be involved. Our youth are so busy, and they are so involved in the community. It's amazing, especially in the summertime. So we had a handful, and myself and then my supervisor, who all pitched in and made this beautiful display trifold board that has our faces pasted all over it and our mission statement.
And do you take that then around to different places when you go?
Yeah. Yes.
So that'll be going with you this Sunday.
Yes.
Okay.
And we actually just got the chance to go to Carl Traeger Elementary's first Diversity Day and present. So like that was something that we brought our trifold and information board to as well, which was really awesome to be a part of the first Diversity Day and get to kind of share about what Y2Y is all about.
Sure. Okay, well, we are just about out of time, but I want to thank you all for being here tonight to talk to us about your work and what you're doing. And if someone wants to know how to either make a financial contribution, because they do use some funds for the work that they do, or if you just want to learn more about it, you can go to the Facebook. Well, you've got something on Facebook for Fit Oshkosh, but this is, we've been putting it up, I hope. You go where, there it is. It's up there right now. fitoshkosh.org /youth-programs .html. I thought I do. It's right at the top of the page. I couldn't see it.
I don't even have it memorized. I should.
So anyway, thanks again for being here. We appreciate it very much. And
Thank you.
Continued good work. So
Absolutely.
thank you. That's going to do it for us. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.